Hi, I'm Jacqueline Rinksmeyer, Executive Director of the Greater Medina Chamber of Commerce.
And I'm Jared Fry, General Manager and Public Information Officer for the City of Medina and Medina TV.
One of the core values of the Greater Medina Chamber of Commerce is business advocacy. We've been proud to partner with Medina TV on this voter education series for well over 10 years now. We're grateful to our interviewer and General Manager of Medina TV, Jared Fry, and our producer, Matt Tomick.
We're grateful for all the candidates that took part in the Candidates Forum, but we also want to stress that the opinions of those candidates are not those necessarily of Medina TV or the Greater Medina Chamber of Commerce.
All candidates in contested races were invited to participate in this voter education program.
We want all voters to be informed to their best of ability as they head to the ballot this November, so sit back and relax and enjoy our Candidates Forum.
We encourage you to make a plan to vote this November.
Joining me in studio now is the candidate for the 9th District Court of Appeals, Steve Elliott. Steve, thank you for joining us here today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you. And why don't you start off first and just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I'm Steve Elliott, like you mentioned, and I'm running for 9th District Court of Appeals. When I start talking about myself, I usually start with my family. So I've been married to my wife, Ann, for almost 24 years now. We have 3 children. 2 are college age, and 1 is a junior in high school. I live in Greene, Ohio, which is in Summit County, and we've lived there pretty much our entire marriage. Me personally, right now, I'm Chief Magistrate at the Summit County Probate Court, and I've been with the court for about 6 years now. I was promoted to Chief in January of 2023, and I've been serving in that role ever since. Prior to becoming Chief Magistrate, I was a practicing attorney, so I practiced law. My office was in downtown Akron, and I had a general practice firm. I practiced in civil litigation, a lot of complex civil litigation cases, some criminal cases, and also a lot of estate planning and probate work, which is what led me to the probate court in the first place. So during my practice, handling those cases has gotten me experience in a wide range of different cases. And prior to practicing law, I was a law enforcement officer. I worked for the CIA for a couple of years down in Langley, Virginia, and I was also a parole officer for the state of Ohio for a few years as well. So that's kind of a snapshot of my personal and professional life.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us, and kind of talk to the voters here and work us through the role of the 9th District Court of Appeals judge.
Yes, so 9th District Court of Appeals is for Medina, Wayne, Lorain, and Summit counties. And the court's jurisdiction is basically any time that a lower court, meaning a common pleas court or a municipal court, enters a judgment or a jury enters a verdict. If the case is appealed, it comes to the 9th District Court of Appeals. And again, it's just in those 4 counties for the 9th District.
Okay. And as you look at politics, and I love when I get to talk with all the candidates here to see this, it's great to see people take part in the political arena. What gives you your passion, 1, for law, and 2, to step foot in the political arena?
I think my answer would be the same for both. Throughout my career, even before law, was serving people. My entire career has been centered around serving people, serving others, and working with people in the community. As a law enforcement officer, obviously protecting the public, and as a parole officer, helping people that have been released from prison reacclimate into society. So I have a strong desire to serve people, and in practice I did the same thing, especially in the estate planning arena, being able to help people with making sure that their assets go to who they want them to go to. So service to my community, service to the people in my community is what has led me to this. And being Chief Magistrate now, it's the next logical step for me to look to take over as a judge somewhere.
Now, as far as sitting on the bench, how do you look at things from a personal perspective? Now we'll touch on the next question, political perspective, as well as the letter of the law. How do you form that balance when you're on the bench?
The balance to me is letter of the law. I mean, obviously we all have our own biases and our own opinions that we've formed over the years. The most important thing that I feel a judge needs to do is set those aside as much as possible and literally apply the facts of that particular case to the law of that case or the law of that situation and make a ruling that is unbiased and fair based on the law, regardless of who's in front of you, regardless of what your personal beliefs are. And I've had to make rulings like that as the Chief Magistrate. I may not agree with everything that's going on, but following the law is the most important thing that I think a judge should do, and something that I'm always going to do.
Mm-hmm. Now, an interesting thing came out in 2021 is where they now have put party affiliation with the Supreme Court justices and also here at the 9th District Court of Appeals. Just curious your thoughts on that.
In my opinion, I don't think that the party tag should be attached to a judge on the ballot. Like my answer previously, I think that a judge's role is to listen to the facts and apply the law to those facts regardless of the parties involved, regardless of party affiliation. So to me, the public should vote for and pick judges based on qualifications and the person that they think would do the best job, regardless of political affiliation. And having that tag on the ballot, I think, obviously can sway people as they vote, instead of maybe looking a little bit deeper and trying to just figure out who the best candidate would be.
Sure. Now, you just mentioned the key point there, the qualifications. So what skills and expertise do you feel you bring to this role?
I think my background formed a lot of my expertise, obviously. Having had experience making arguments in the courtroom as an attorney and representing clients, walking clients through the legal procedure and legal process, which can be time-consuming, obviously expensive and confusing, and being a counselor in those situations has given me that perspective from the other side of the bench. I've been there, I've done that, I've made those arguments. Since I've been chief magistrate, I think that having that experience has helped me be the decider or be the judicial officer on the other side. And as chief magistrate, at this point, I've probably heard over 1,000 cases in the probate court in the last 6 years. And same thing there. You always have to maintain, remain calm, maintain your composure, listen to the evidence, and then issue that decision based on what the law is. And so having honed those skills as chief magistrate, and obviously as a litigator as well, it has prepared me to take the next step on the Court of Appeals bench.
What's something you're most proud of doing in the legal field?
In the legal field?
Yeah.
I think the thing I'm most proud of is the education piece of what I do. One of the things that we do in the probate court is we go around the community and we have seminars, I guess would be the best way to put it, to educate the public on the probate process, what happens in the probate court, what you should have to be prepared if something would happen to you or a loved one, to make that process easier. In the other piece of the education side that I deal with is one of the things the probate court does is we have mental illness hearings. So if somebody's civilly committed and they need to be hospitalized for a mental illness issue, we are the court that handles those hearings. And one of the trainings that we also do is with law enforcement officers. It's called the Crisis Intervention Team, and Summit County and Medina County both participate in that program. And we go to the training programs for those law enforcement officers and first responders and provide training on what the mental illness process is through our court. So the education piece for public and law enforcement, I think, is probably the thing I'm most proud of.
Again, we're speaking with Steve Elliott, the candidate for the 9th District Court of Appeals here on the ballot this November. What is something, if elected, that you would like to improve on the 9th District Court of Appeals?
Just one?
Well, you can go for more.
I'm just kidding. I think with any court, if you ask people in the public if there was a complaint about courts, it would probably be the time. The amount of time that it takes from the filing of a complaint, or in this case, the filing of an appeal, until that order is issued or that entry is issued at the end, disposing of whatever the appeal was. Hopefully shortening the time and coming up with procedures. I don't work at the Court of Appeals right now. I don't know what their process is. One of the things that I do want to do is examine that process and determine if there's a way for us to speed up the issuing of those appeals, the decision on those appeals, so the time isn't as large as it usually is. One of the other, I know you said one, and this is kind of related to that, access to justice. I know a lot of people have heard that in the past. Appeals are expensive. Attorneys are expensive for appeals, and I believe that just because somebody may be in an economic position not to be able to afford it, they should still have the same access to somebody who does have the ability to afford an attorney. And you know, examining and helping out with making sure that there's funding for community legal aid services, and also maybe pro bono services that attorneys can volunteer to provide pro bono services and appeals. Those are things that I would like to take a look at, and if there's nothing there, either implement or help improve.
Now, what do you see as some of the largest obstacles in the future for the 9th District Court of Appeals, or even just in general in the court system? What issues or obstacles do you see in the near future?
I think the one I was just talking about is probably the largest, access to justice, because that issue is prevalent regardless of what court you're in. Even as far as filing fees. Filing fees can be expensive. Attorney's fees are obviously expensive, and that access to justice piece, I think, is probably the largest issue facing courts today. Our job is to serve the public. Our job is to make sure that we administer justice pursuant to law. And if somebody isn't able to get into our court for an economic reason, it's not fair to them, and that access should be equal to everybody. And I think that's why I touched on it earlier, is I think that's probably the most important issue in any of our courts.
So another issue, and it's more ballot related, is sometimes you'll see, especially in the judicial races, I don't know if it's voter fatigue or voter fall off, you tend to see voters kind of drop off as it heads to those races. I guess two questions off that. One, why do you think that is? And on the second side, what would you like to say to voters to maybe get them to stay on that ballot and keep casting those votes?
I think with judicial races, the biggest issue or the biggest reason that people don't go down the ballot, we say down the ballot is where we usually are, and vote in those races, is people don't know us. Most people probably aren't involved in the justice system, so they have never had contact with judges. They don't know who they are. In fact, I get calls all the time from family members and friends, who should I vote for in a judicial race? And my answer is always the same. And this is why I appreciate having the opportunity to come talk to you. I want and hope that people take the chance and take the opportunity to learn who the candidates are in those judicial races, so that they can cast a vote for the person that they think would be best. And so to me, that's the biggest obstacle for us down the ticket, is people not knowing us. We are more local candidates, obviously. We're not on the national stage or even the statewide stage. We are local, but what we do has a direct and immediate impact on the citizens here in Medina and in the 9th District and the other counties that I mentioned. So I think voter education and getting information to voters about us, so that they know who we are, what we stand for, so that they will take the time. Once you know candidates and understand where they come from, it's a lot easier to go down and make sure you do vote for them.
Great. Again, speaking with Steve Elliott, candidate for the 9th District Court of Appeals. And Steve, you've been great in answering all my questions that I had for you. I want to give you one last opportunity that you can talk directly to the voters and say anything you'd like. So the floor is yours.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you again for having me. I appreciate the chance to come and talk to you. As I mentioned earlier, I think getting to know the candidates is extremely important, and hopefully you've had a chance to get to know me a little bit today. As Chief Magistrate of the Summit County Probate Court, I have the judicial experience necessary for the 9th District Court of Appeals. Every day I issue decisions that will be similar to what happens in the 9th District. That experience, along with my background in law enforcement and in practice, has prepared me to be a 9th District Court of Appeals judge. Most importantly, and one of the biggest reasons that I'm running today, is we've seen throughout our state and our country politics kind of seeping their way into the judiciary, and I want to make sure that that doesn't happen. If you elect me as your 9th District Court of Appeals judge, I will make sure that my decisions will be based on the law and the facts of that case, and politics will not come into play as I issue those decisions. Neither will anything in regards to someone's beliefs, the color of someone's skin, someone's sexual orientation. It will not matter to me who is in front of me. I am always going to issue a fair and just decision based on the law and facts of that case.
Great, thank you. That's Steve Elliott, candidate for the 9th District Court of Appeals. I appreciate you taking time with us today, and I want to wish you the best of luck this November.
Thank you, absolutely. I appreciate it.
Thank you.